Hello, my name is John Sleesman. I'm the treasurer of the Northeastern Ohio Synod, but I'm speaking to you in this video in my capacity as the Assembly Parliamentarian for the 2020 Remote Assembly. This is a short video to talk about some of the issues with parliamentary procedures that may come up. It doesn't go into any particular detail, but I do want to talk about some of the things that may be a little bit different at this year's assembly, and some of the things that may be outside of the usual kinds of things that we deal with when we are in a physical place altogether. The Northeastern Ohio Synod is usually fairly casual in our Synod assemblies about the use of parliamentary procedure, enforcing it only as necessary to keep order. With this year's remote assembly, however, we have some unique situations and tensions that are going on. On the one side, we have something of a need to be a little tighter and more careful about following parliamentary procedure and noting how things are done. When we are in a single space, normally the people up front at the head table can see the reaction of the members of the assembly. We can see, for example, people getting up and moving toward microphones. We can see people waving cards. We can see people holding cards with different colors. For those tables that are close to the front, we can often see facial expressions that give us some clue as to whether the assembly is following along, what the mood of the meeting is, and so forth. We're not going to have that with the virtual assembly. There are over 350 of you out there, 360 something, if I looked at the registration numbers correctly, who are going to be all over this territory of the Synod, and we're not going to be able to see you, even if you can see us on the live stream. So that means that we do have some procedures in place that we'll talk about, but also it does mean that since people may have problems and it may take a while for people to be recognized, while we need to more carefully follow parliamentary procedure, we're also going to have to be more tolerant about issues that arise because people can't follow parliamentary procedure. It's going to be interesting to see how we work through that dynamics during the actual assembly. What we can talk about, however, is that if the understanding of all participants on the framework of rules that we work under is well understood, that's an important step along the process of making the assembly run smoothly. So this video is a very general discussion about parliamentary procedure. There are some other companion videos that are very important, especially the one on how to gain recognition, that talks about how to put some of these rules into practice in the remote assembly, and also some related videos that discuss some technology issues, just the simple logistics of a Zoom meeting, and other videos on uses of particular software, including how to watch and how to vote at the assembly. In terms of parliamentary procedure, I'm going to ask you to refer to pages 4 through 6 of the pre-assembly material. The first of those pages is titled Language for Introducing Motions, while pages 5 and 6 are two tables that indicate the various types of parliamentary motions that can be made during a meeting. I'm going to omit detailed descriptions of most of those motions from this video because it would simply be too long, but I would refer you both to the languages page as a first source, to the tables, and also that if you have specific questions, to please send an email to assembly@neos-elca.org. That's the official assembly email address. Again, assembly@neos-elca.org. If you send email to that address or contact the Synod at the various contact points and information that's given elsewhere in the pre-assembly material. That's the fastest way to get answers back on some of these questions. So I encourage you to review all the material and send any question you have on parliamentary procedure or any of the other topics to the assembly address as soon as possible. If you look at the two charts on parliamentary procedure, you will see several motions that are shaded in yellow with the word yes inside the box in a column that is headed interrupt question mark. I want to focus generally on those for a moment because these are motions that are considered privileged in terms of being able to be recognized. And these are the motions that, when you watch the other material on how to gain recognition, you will find that ought to be identified in the Zoom chat entries with an asterisk in front of them so that the people that are monitoring the recognition area can identify that these are privileged motions that should be separately identified. On page 5, in particular, there are two motions. Ranking, raise a question of privilege, more likely to happen in a physical assembly where you have issues such as, can the air conditioning be turned up or down? The lighting is not good. Microphones aren't working, speakers aren't working, whatever. Those questions, types of questions, however, could still come up in a remote meeting, and those motions could be very important. I would note, however, that if it's a matter of something like sound, you should probably try to determine if it's sound on your particular connection, which is something that should go to the help desk and not really come to the parliamentary area, because you'll get a better and faster response through the help desk. Look at the material elsewhere in the pre-assembly for more discussion about that. The second motion that shows up on that side is call for the orders of the day. Again, this is something that hopefully, with the number of people at the Night Center and the chair trying to watch it, should not need to be raised, but it's very important that if we do lose track, that it is pointed out to the leadership. Call for the orders of the day occurs when a particular topic was scheduled to happen at a particular time, but because other business has taken longer than we thought, we've reached that point in time where we need to actually move on to this particular topic. So again, this could be one that's very important if it needs to be made. The priority motions that are most likely to be made are on page 6, the non-ranking motion side. All of those motions identify issues that basically means that you or other people in the assembly have not received adequate explanation of why we are doing things or what's going on. Consider some of them. A parliamentary inquiry is a request for explanation and clarification of the particular procedure and parliamentary rules that are being used, or issues with citations from the governing documents or the special rules of procedure. A point of information is basically a formal way of saying, there's not enough context here, that I don't understand what the question is, or perhaps you're using some obscure language that I don't understand, so I don't exactly know what we're voting on. It's basically a fancy term for a request for a little more explanation. Another one that occurs is a point of order, which is a suggestion that the chair is not following or has not followed the rules. Hopefully this won't happen because it will be caught, but if it by some chance does occur, it, like all these others, are very important that they do get submitted and a request for priority recognition be made so that we are sure that before things move along toward a possible vote, that everybody does know exactly what they're voting on and why it is appropriate. So again, review that. Review in the other video how to gain recognition for priority motion, and we will move on from there. On both charts, the other motions are fairly typical, and those charts are there and will be used much the way as they have at other meetings in the past. There is a ranking of what you can do when, and that doesn't really change. As always, things start with a simple motion, which, depending on whether it comes from an official committee or the Senate Council, may not need a second from the floor. If it does come from an individual, it will need a second. Once a motion is on there, discussion starts and moves back and forth. It may need to be, or there may be a suggestion for an amendment. An amendment gets made, it's seconded, gets debated, gets disposed of either by being accepted or rejected, and discussion moves back to the main motion. This will continue the way in the remote assembly that it always has in a physical assembly. So no changes there. We're still following the same procedures and so forth. The other motions on those charts are more specialized and less common in most of our assemblies. So rather than discuss them, I'm simply going to suggest that you review them, review the language for introducing motions page, and if you need additional information, please email the assembly email address, which again is assembly@neos-elca.org. Thank you.